Hello, and welcome back to the reading of The Lemonade War by Jacqueline Davies. The reading level is 4th grade, first month, and the interest level is 3rd grade through the 6th grade. The Lemonade War, Chapter 4. Partnership, which is a noun. 2 or more people pooling their money and their skills and resources to run a business, agreeing to share the profits and losses of that business. And that was the definition of the word partnership. Jessie had been waiting for this moment. The moment when Evan would see their lemonade stand, see the wonderful decorations they had made, and see the crowds of people waiting in line. Also to see Megan standing by her side. He would see it all and be so impressed. He would think to himself, wow, Jessie is one cool kid. She sure knows how to run a lemonade stand. Right. And then he'll jog over and say, hey, can I help you? And can I help out? And Jessie would say, sure, we were hoping you'd come over. And it would be like old times. Why hadn't it worked out like that? With one part of her brain, Jessie continued to take money from customers and make change. That was the part of her brain that worked just fine. With the other part of her brain, Jessie went over what had happened with Evan. That was the part of her brain that tended to run in circles. She and Megan were selling lemonade. Business had been good. Then Mrs. Polly, a neighborhood mom, walked up. She had had a bunch of kids in her backyard running through the sprinkler, and now they wanted 12 cups of lemonade. 12! It was the biggest sale of the day. Megan got cracking pouring the lemonade, and Jessie took the 6 singles that Mrs. Polly handed her. All the kids from Mrs. Polly's backyard were chanting, lemonade, lemonade, lemonade. A fly buzzed by Jessie's ear. They'd been having a problem with flies because of the sticky lemonade spills on their stand. And she cocked her hand to one side to shoo it since her hands were busy with the money. And that's when Jessie looked up and saw Evan standing there, staring. So she smiled, but he didn't smile back. So she waved, even though she had all that money in both hands. She waved so he'd know that she was happy to see him. And then he stalked off, all stiff-legged and bristly. And she never got to say, sure, we were hoping you'd come over, like she'd rehearsed in her head. And just then, Tommy Polly, who was 2 years old, pulled down his bathing suit and peed right on the lawn. And Megan laughed so loud, Jessie was sure you could hear it all over the neighborhood. That's what had happened. That's exactly what had happened. But Jessie knew that something else entirely had happened, and she didn't get to it. The way she didn't get a lot of things about people. All she knew was that the sight of Evan walking away from her for the 2nd time that day, made her feel so sad and alone that she just wanted to run home to her room and curl up on her bed with Charlotte's Web. Hey, Madam Cash Register, said Megan, nudging her. You're falling behind. Ring 3 for this lady and 1 for this kid over here. Jessie turned away from the retreating figure of Evan. "That's $1.50," she said to the woman standing in front of her. She took the $5 bill the woman was holding out and made change from her lockbox, focusing all her energy on the part of her brain that worked just fine. It's true that when Evan had first walked out of the garage, Jessie had banged up to her door and tried to think of every way possible that she could make his life a living misery. She thought of telling Mom that Evan was the one who broke the toaster, the one by playing hockey in the house, which is not allowed. She thought of taking back every one of her CDs from his room, even though she knew that would be mean. She'd have to give it back, and she had to give back all of his CDs. She'd even thought of putting peanut butter in his shoes. This was something she read in a book, and she loved to imagine that moment of horror when he think he somehow gotten dog do inside his shoes. But when these ideas had finished bouncing around in her brain, and when her breathing had returned to normal, and her fists weren't clenched at her sides anymore, she knew what she really was to get the old Evan back. She knew how to get him back. The one who was so much fun to be around. The one who helped her out of every jam. Like when she ate all the Lorna Doones that Mom had set aside for the Girl Scout meeting, and Evan had ridden his bike to the 7-Eleven and bought a new package before Mom even noticed. Or when she accidentally, well, not accidentally, but how was she supposed to know? She picked up the red flowers in Grandma's garden that were a hybrid experiment. Evan had said they had both done it, so Grandma's disappointment was kind of spread around. Or the time that Jessie had smashed the ceramic heart that Daddy had given her because she was so mad that he had left them. And then, when she had cried about her broken heart, Evan had glued every single last piece back together again. She wanted back the Evan who was her best friend. But Evan didn't want her because he thought she was a baby and she was going to embarrass him in Mrs. Overton's class. So she had to prove to him that she was a big kid, that she could keep up with the crowd, that she could fit in, even with his 4th grade class. "I'll show him I can sell lemonade too, just as good as him and Scott. I won't embarrass him." So Jessie got down to business. She knew she needed a partner. See, from past experience, she learned that having a lemonade stand alone wasn't considered cool. It was considered pathetic. And her partner would have to be a 4th grade girl, because that's what this is all about, showing she could fit in with the 4th graders. So the question was, who? It had to be a girl who lived in the neighborhood, or at least close enough to bike to her house. And it had to be someone that Jessie had talked to at least once. No way could she call a girl she'd never ever even talked to. And it had to be someone who seemed nice. This last part was a problem, because Jessie knew that she often thought people were nice, and then they turned out to be not nice. Case in point, those 2nd grade girls. So Jessie decided it had to be someone who Evan thought was nice. Evan knew about these things. He was the one who had explained with his big arm around her shoulder, "Jessie, those girls are making fun of you. They are not nice." When Jessie thought about all these different requirements. There was only one obvious answer: Megan. She lived less than 3 blocks down the street, and Jessie had said hi to her a few times while biking in the neighborhood. And Evan must have thought she was nice because Jessie had found a piece of paper in his trash can with Megan's name written all over it. Why would he cover a page with her name if he didn't think she was a nice person? Jessie went to the kitchen and climbed into a stool so that she could reach the cabinet over the stove. She took down the school phone book and looked through the listings for both of last year's 3rd grade classes. No Megan. Duh, Jessie remembered. She moved in halfway through the school year. With a sinking heart, Jessie checked the town phone book. No Megan family listed on Damon Road. Okay, said Jessie, slapping the phone book shut and putting it back in the cabinet over the stove. Time for plan B. Jessie went to the hall closet and got out her backpack, which had been hanging there empty since the last day of school. Inside, she put 3 cans of frozen lemonade from the freezer and her lock box full of change. She put the $10 bill, that was still paper clipped to last year's birthday card from her grandmother, and it was located in her top desk drawer. Then she went to the garage, strapped on her helmet, and rode on her bike. As she left the driveway, she could see Evan and Scott's lemonade stand on the corner. But she was careful not to make eye contact. She didn't want to talk to Evan until she was ready to. Ta-da! Impress him. Her heart leaped when she imagined him ditching Scott to come be with her. Megan's house was so close that Jessie got there in less than 30 seconds. And less than 30 seconds wasn't nearly long enough for her to plan what she was going to say. So she rode back and forth in front of the house about 15 times, trying to pick the right words. "What are you doing?" a voice shouted from the upstairs window. Jessie slammed on her foot brakes and looked up. Megan was staring down at her. She looked huge. Her voice did not sound nice. Riding my bike," said Jessie. "But why are you riding back and forth?" asked Megan impatiently. "In front of my house." "I don't know," said Jessie. "You want to play?" "Who are you?" asked Megan. "Jessie," said Jessie, pointing down the street towards her house. "Evan's little sister?" asked Megan. Jessie felt like a deflating balloon. "Yeah." "Oh," said Megan. "I couldn't tell because of the helmet." Jessie took her helmet off. "So you wanna?" she asked. There was a long pause. "Where's Evan?" asked Megan. "He's out somewhere with a friend," said Jessie. "Oh," said Megan. Jessie looked down at the ground. People tell you things. Evan had told her once. With their hands and their faces and the way they stand, it's not just what they say. You gotta pay attention, Jess. You gotta watch for the things they're saying, not with their words. Megan looked back up. It was hard to see Megan at all. She was so far up and behind the window screen. Jessie sucked in her breath. "Do you want to do something?" Another long pause. Jessie started counting in her head. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000, 6 1,000. Sure, said Megan. Then her head disappeared from the window. A minute later, Megan was at the front door. Hey, she said, opening the screen. Jessie raised her hand in something that was halfway between a wave and a salute as she walked in. Her sweaty bangs stuck to her forehead where the helmet had mashed them down. She was so nervous about saying something stupid. She didn't say anything at all. Megan leaned against the banister of the stairs and crossed her arms. So, said Jessie. She stared at Megan, who was fiddling with the 7 and 8 band bracelets on her arm. Jessie counted 2 Livestrongs, 1 Red Sox World's Champ, 1 March of Dimes, and 1 Race for the Cure. What's that one? She asked, pointing to a band bracelet with tiger stripes. Megan stretched it off her wrist and gave it to Jessie. It's for the Animal Rescue League. My mom gave them some money, so they gave us this and a bumper sticker. I've got 22 band bracelets. Cool, said Jessie, handing the bracelet back. Megan flipped it back on. She continued to play with the bracelets on her arm, running them up and down. So what'd you want to do? Asked Megan. I don't know, said Jessie. We could, I don't know. Let me think. We could have a lemonade stand. Said Megan, sounding bored. Oh, it'll be fun. Come on. We don't have any lemonade, said Megan. I've got 3 cans, said Jessie. She slipped the backpack off her back and dumped out the 3 cans of frozen lemonade. Her lockbox came rattling out, too. What's that? Asked Megan. My lockbox, said Jessie. We can use it to make change. She felt her face getting red. Maybe 4th graders weren't supposed to have lockboxes. How much money have you got? Asked Megan. You mean in change or altogether? Megan pointed at the lockbox. How much is in there? $4.42. 14 quarters, 5 dimes, 3 nickels, and 27 pennies. Jessie didn't say anything about the $10 she'd left at home. Both of Megan's eyebrows shot up. Exactly? She asked. What do those eyebrows mean? Jessie wondered in panic. Why was Megan smiling at her? Jessie, those girls are making fun of you. They are not nice. Jessie didn't say anything. She had a sick feeling in her stomach that this was going to turn out badly. Megan straightened up. Wow, you're rich, she said. Want to go to the 7-Eleven? We could get Slurpees. But Jessie pointed to the cans of lemonade on the carpeted hallway floor. The frost on them was already starting to sweat off. We could do the lemonade stand later, said Megan. Maybe. Jessie thought of Scott and Evan, racking up sales 2 blocks down. How was she going to prove herself to Evan if she couldn't even get Megan to have a stand? How about the lemonade stand first, Jessie said, and then Slurpees with our earnings. I bet we'd even have enough for chips and gum. You think? Said Megan. I know, said Jessie. Look, she held up a can of lemonade. It says right on the can, yields 64 ounces. So we get 8 cups from each can and sell each cup for $1/2. So that's $4. And then there's 3 cans, so that's $12 altogether, right? The numbers flashed in Jessie's brain so fast, she didn't even need to think about what she was multiplying and dividing and adding. It just made sense to her. "Hey, how old are you?" Megan asked, looking at her sideways. "8," said Jessie, "but I'll be 9 next month." Megan shook her head. That math doesn't sound right. No way we could make $12 from just 3 little cans. "Yeah-huh," said Jessie. "I'll show you. Do you have a piece of paper?" Jessie started to draw pictures. She knew that other kids couldn't see the numbers the way that she did. They needed the pictures to make sense of math. "Look," she said, "here are 3 pitchers of lemonade, because we've got 3 cans of lemonades, and each pitcher's got 64 ounces in it." And she drew 3 pitchers, and she has the number 64 ounces on each pitcher. "Now, when we pour a cup of lemonade, we'll pour 8 ounces, because that's how much a cup holds. You don't want to pour less than that, or people will say you're being a cheapskate. So each pitcher is going to give us 8 cups, because 8 times 8 equals 64, right? Now, we'll sell each cup for 50 cents. That's a fair price. That means that every time we sell 2 cups, we make $1, right? Because 50 cents plus 50 cents equals $1. So look, I'll circle the cups by 2s, and that's how many dollars we make. Count them." So she looks at the drawing and she counts the cups. Megan counted the circled pair of cups. 10, 11, 12. "That's how much money we'll make," said Jessie, "if we sell all the lemonade. And if we do the that's if we do the lemonade stand." "Wow," said Megan. "You're really good at math." She puffed her cheeks out like a bullfrog and thought for a minute. Then she popped both cheeks with her hands and said, "Whatever, let's do the lemonade thing." Jessie felt soaked in relief. Maybe this was going to work after all. An hour later, Jessie and Megan had transformed the little wooden puppet theater in Megan's basement into the hottest new lemonade stand on the block. The stand was decorated with tissue paper flowers, cut out butterflies, and glittery hearts. It was a showstopper. And boy, did people notice it. Kids in the neighborhood, strangers walking by with their dogs, moms strolling with carriages, even the 2 guys fixing the telephone wires. They all came to buy lemonade. And just when Jessie and Megan were on the verge of running out, Megan's mother went to the store and bought 3 more cans, free of charge. So when Mrs. Pauley asked for 12 cups at exactly the moment that Evan rounded the curve and saw her lemonade stand, Jessie felt like she just scored 100 on a test and gotten 5 points for extra credit. So why did Evan stomp off? And how come she didn't feel like she'd won anything at all? The Lemonade War, Chapter 5. competition. Now, the word competition is a noun, rivalry in the marketplace. Dinner that night at the Treskys was quiet, so the explosion that followed seemed especially loud. It was Jesse's turn to clear and scrape the dishes, Evan's turn to wash and stack. Evan looked at the pile of dirty plates on his left. Jessie was ahead. She was always ahead when it was her turn to clear. But tonight, it felt like she was taunting him. To Evan, every plate scraping sounded like, "Can't keep up, can't keep up." Evan was scrubbing the casserole pan when Jessie stacked the last dirty dish by his elbow. Then she stuck her hands under the faucet to rinse without even saying "excuse me," and shook her hands practically right in Evan's face and said, "So how much money did you make?" That was it. He couldn't hold it in any longer. "Why'd you do it, huh? Why did you have to ruin the one thing I had going?" For a second, Evan wasn't sure if he meant the lemonade stand or Megan. In a mixed up way, he meant both. And there was no way he was going to tell Jessie that after paying back his mother for the 4 cans of lemonade, 1 can of grape juice, and 1 bottle of ginger ale, she'd been pretty irritated when she came down from the office and there wasn't a single cold drink in the house. He had walked away with $2.11. On top of that, he was pretty sure Scott had kept the $5 bill they'd earned. Well, what was Evan supposed to do? Ask Scott to turn his pockets inside out? Evan hadn't kept track of the sales, so he couldn't be sure. "Why'd I do it? Why'd you do it? Why'd you invite that jerk over for a lemonade stand?" shouted Jessie. "And how come you wouldn't let me play? You're the one who was mean." "You're such a show-off," said Evan. "You always have to let everyone know that you're the smart one." "I wasn't showing off. I was just trying to have a little fun. Is that against the law? You won't do a lemonade stand with me. Then I won't do a lemonade stand with you." Okay, first of all, you won't do a lemonade stand with me. Then I won't do a lemonade stand with you. I do one with my friend Megan instead. "You cannot be her friend. You cannot be her friend," shouted Evan. "And why not?" "Because you're a little kid. You don't even belong in the 4th grade. And because you're just an annoying show-off pest and no one likes you." The words felt like disgusting spiders running out of his mouth. They were horrible, but it felt so good to get rid of them. Then Evan saw Jessie's lip tremble. Uh-oh. Jessie was a howler. She didn't cry often, and she didn't cry long. But when she did, it was loud. Mom would come down from her office. Evan would catch the blame. Unfair. But Jessie didn't let loose. Instead, she stood as tall as her runty height would allow and said, "Megan likes me. She invited me over to her house tomorrow. We're going to make another lemonade stand and earn twice what we did today." Oh, that was it. She was going to ruin everything. Show him up right in front of Megan, even before the school year started. Make Megan think he was just some stupid loser who couldn't even beat out his baby sister at a lemonade stand. Evan boiled over. I wouldn't count on it, Juicy, he said. Jesse hated that nickname, and Evan only used it when he had to. I'm going to have a lemonade stand every day until school starts, and I'm going to earn $100 by the end of the summer, enough for an iPod. Oh, please! Like you could, if you even wanted to, said Jesse. Megan and I already made $12 today. We could have $100 like that. And Jessie snapped her fingers. And then what? Said Evan. You lock it up in your lockbox and save it till you were 50 years old. You're the biggest miser on this planet. Jessie stiffened up. Her mouth made a funny O. Then she put a hand on her hip and smirked at Evan. For your information, I'm going to make $100. I'm going to make a $100 donation to a charity. Evan snorted. Yeah, right. What charity? There was a long pause, and then Jessie said, as smooth as whipped cream, the Animal Rescue League. Megan and I talked about it today. You don't even like animals, said Evan. Everybody likes animals, shouted Jessie, and I'm going to give them $100, so you can't ever call me a miser again. I hope I never have to talk to you again, shouted Evan. Hey! A sharp voice called from the stairs. Mrs. Tresky had a pencil stuck in her hair and a worried look on her face. I could hear you two all the way up in the attic with the air conditioner on high. What's up? Evan looked at Jessie. Jessie looked at Evan. They had taken a vow, a spit vow. Ever since Dad had gone, they had vowed not to fight in front of Mom. It made her sad, sadder even than when Dad left. Nothing, said Evan. Nothing, said Jessie. Mrs. Tresky looked at the two of them. Come on, out with it. What are you two yelling about? It wasn't a fight, Mom, said Evan. We were just joking around. Yeah, said Jessie. We were goofing. Sorry we got you out of your office. Mrs. Tresky looked at both of them with her laser eyes. Jessie hung the dish towel on the oven handle and fiddled with it until it was perfectly straight. Evan bent over the casserole pan and scrubbed as if his life depended on it. He scrubbed so hard his elbow bumped the fruit bowl. A cloud of fruit flies rose into the air and then settled back down. Oh, God, said Mrs. Tresky. Would you look at those fruit flies? Her shoulders slumped. All right, well, I'm going back up. Can you guys handle showers and reading? And then I'll be back down to tuck you guys in and turn off the lights. Sure, Mom, said Jessie. No problem, said Evan. Mrs. Tresky disappeared upstairs. Jessie turned to Evan at the sink. All right, let's make a bet, she said. Whoever earns $100 wins, and the loser has to give all of their earnings to the winner. Evan shook his head. Not fair, he said. You've already got money saved up. That money doesn't count, said Jessie. We'll start with today's earnings. And it's all got to be from selling lemonade. No mowing lawns or sweeping out the garage or anything else. Oh, what if neither of us makes 100, said Evan, not liking the sound of this deal. then whoever makes the closest to 100 wins. And even if we both make over 100, whoever makes the most money wins the bet. When do we count up the money? Asked Evan. Jessie thought about that. Sunday night, right before the fireworks. She looked straight at Evan. Huh? What'd you say? Evan didn't like bets. He really wasn't that into competition. He loved to play basketball and always gave it his all. But winning or losing, it didn't make much difference to him. He just liked to play. But this was different. This mattered. If he didn't beat Jessie at this bet, if he couldn't win against his little sister in a lemonade war, then Evan thought of the school year stretching in front of him. It was all over. He might as well just give up on everything right now. It's a bet. $100 by Sunday night. Winner takes all. He shook his wet hands over the sink, dried them on the dish towel, and gave Jessie his most menacing look. You better pray for mercy. The Lemonade War, Chapter 6, Underselling. Now, underselling is a verb, and it means pricing the same goods for less than the competition. Okay? Jessie knew that Evan was up to something. First of all, there were all those phone calls last night, at least 10 of them. Then he come knocking on her door this morning, asking if he could have the piece of foam core she had leaning against her bedroom wall. No way, she'd answered. That's for my Labor Day display. Oh, give it up. Today's Thursday. The contest is on Monday, and you don't even have an idea, Evan said. I do too have an idea. I'm just not telling you. Jessie still didn't have a clue about the Labor Day project, but she wasn't going to give Evan the satisfaction of knowing that. Then how come you haven't done anything? Evan asked, pointing at the blank foam core and the bags of untouched art supplies. You're supposed to have pictures and typed up information and a big title. It's supposed to be like a school report. Jessie scrunched her eyes and pierced her lips in a "you're such an idiot" look. Don't worry. It's going to be great, and it's going to win first prize. And anyway, Mom bought all those supplies for me, and I'm not giving anything to you. Jessie heard Evan mutter, "Miser," just as she slammed the door in his face. And now 3 of Evan's friends were over. Paul, Jack, and Ryan. And all 3 had shown up with paper bags. And they were all in the garage making a lot of noise with a big "keep out" sign taped to the door. Not that Jessie would have gone in there anyway. Who cares about a bunch of boys and what they're doing? But she wished Megan had invited her to come over before lunch instead of after. Jessie went into the kitchen to make a turkey sandwich. The boys had left a slimy mess of peanut butter, Doritos, and yes, sticky puddles of lemonade mix. Jessie quickly looked in the trash can under the kitchen sink. There were 12 empty cans of frozen lemonade mix. 12! That was 96 cups worth of lemonade. 96 possible sales. Holy cow! Where had Evan gotten the lemonade? He hadn't gone to the store. He didn't have any money anyway. Then Jessie remembered the paper bags that Paul, Ryan, and Jack had carried in. She bet the boys had all raided their freezers and brought over a stash. That didn't seem fair. She and Megan had to buy their lemonade today using the money they made yesterday. How were they going to stay ahead of the game if the boys had free lemonade to sell? Think, Jessie, think, she whispered to herself. She couldn't let the boys win. By the time she finished her lunch and cleaned up her mess, she wasn't going to lift a finger to clean up the boys' mess. She had the beginning of a plan in her head, which is why she found it doubly confusing when she knocked on Megan's screen and Carly Brownell came to the door. Jessie been all ready to say, "I've got a great idea," but then there was Carly looking down at her like she was an earwig. Is Megan home?" asked Jessie. Carly didn't open the screen door as she looked left and right and behind Jessie. "Where's Evan?" "Huh?" said Jessie. Megan came running down the stairs carrying bottles of nail polish. "Oh, hi, Jessie," she said, opening the door. She poked her head out and looked around. "Where's Evan?" "He's at home." "Why?" asked Jessie. Carly made a noise like a snorting hippopotamus. "I thought you said he was coming," said Megan. "No, I didn't," said Jessie. "You said it would be fun to make a lemonade stand with all three of us, and I said, yeah, that would be fun." "So didn't he want to?" asked Megan. "I never asked him," said Jessie. "Oh, I thought you were going to," said Megan. "Then you should have said, 'Hey, Jessie, ask Evan if he wants to make a lemonade stand tomorrow,' and then I would have asked him." This was exactly what drove Jessie crazy about girls. They always said things halfway and then expected you to get the other half. And Jessie never got the other half. Carly gave Megan a look. Jessie wasn't positive what the look meant, but she was pretty sure it wasn't a nice one. That was the other thing that Jessie hated about girls. They were always giving looks that contained all kinds of strange and complicated messages. Last year in second grade, there had been 4 girls who were always exchanging looks with one another. Becky Baker, and Lorelai Sun, and Andrea Hennessy, and Eileen Garrett. Jessie watched them and knew that Evan was right. They talked without words. They used their eyes to pass secret messages. She also knew they didn't like her, but only because Evan had finally explained it to her over Christmas vacation. Jessie was surprised when he told her this. They laughed so much. How could they be so mean? They were the 4 who started the club, the Wild Hot Jelly Beans Club, or as they called it, the WHJ Club. Becky was president, and she was always telling the others what to do. They made signs and paper buttons and membership cards. The teacher, Mrs. Soren, didn't usually allow clubs in the classroom, but she made an exception, telling the girls, "I'll let you wear your buttons in class, but only if you let all the other kids join if they want to." By the end of the day, every kid in class was wearing a WHJ button, even Jessie, who never belonged to a club before. It had seemed like Becky was being so nice to her. "That should have been your first clue," Evan told Jessie later. Becky made extra buttons for Jessie and even helped tape them all over her shirt. She made a special membership card for her and even a WHJ sign that she helped Jessie glue onto her writer's workshop folder. Jessie remembered all the girls laughing and Jessie laughing too, and all those strange looks that Becky and Lorelai and Andrea and Eileen kept flashing back and forth, like secret notes passed in class that Jessie could never read. The very next day, Mrs. Soren collected all the buttons, gathered up all the membership cards, and even replaced Jessie's writer's workshop folder. No clubs in the classroom, she said. I made a bad choice by allowing it, even for one day. On the playground, Jessie went up to Becky. Why is she breaking up the club? She asked. Becky gave her a sour look. She'd been grumpy all morning. Don't you get it, you dummy? WHJ doesn't stand for wild hot jelly beans. We just said that to Mrs. Soren. It stands for We Hate Jessie. It's the We Hate Jessie Club, and everyone in the class is a member. Jessie stared at Becky. Why did they hate her? What had she ever done to them? It didn't make sense. And then Lorelai, Andrea, and Eileen had laughed, and even Becky had managed a smirky grin. Jerks, Evan said later, when Jessie told him the whole story. They've got rocks for brains, but Jess, you gotta be on the lookout for girls like that. Standing in Megan's front hall, Jessie stared at Carly. Something inside told her Carly was a girl like that. Look, said Jessie, it doesn't matter. Evan can't come over. He's busy. And we've got to get going on our lemonade stand. I've got a great idea. We don't want to do a lemonade stand, said Carly. Jessie looked at Megan. It's just that... Megan fiddled with the bottles of nail polish in her hand the same way she fiddled with her band bracelets the day before. It's kind of hot, and we did the lemonade thing already, and now Carly is over. So, you know. You said you wanted to, said Jessie, and I thought you liked me, she added in her head. She felt her lower lip tremble. Not now, she shouted inside. Don't you be a big baby. Megan stood there saying nothing, fiddling with her bottles. Then she turned to Carly. Oh, come on, Carly. It'll be fun. We made a ton of money yesterday, and it was really fun. Carly crossed her arms, tightened her lips, and raised one eyebrow. It was amazing how high she could raise that eyebrow. Jessie had never seen an eyebrow go that high. Oh, come on, Carly, said Megan again. Carly didn't move a muscle. Well, then I guess. Megan's voice trailed off. She clicked one bottle of nail polish against another so that it made a tapping sound that filled the long silence. I guess me and Jessie will do the lemonade stand alone then. Carly dropped her eyebrow in her arms. Whatever, she said as she walked out the door. Spend the day babysitting if you want. The screen door slammed, followed by a huge bucketful of silence. Whatever, said Megan, imitating Carly's voice. Jessie laughed, even though she was still stinging from the babysitting remark. Thanks for doing the lemonade stand with me, she said. Are you kidding? Said Megan. She's such a stuck-up jerk. I didn't even invite her over. She just rode by, and when I said that you and Evan might be coming over, she just walked into the house. Are all the girls in 4th grade like her? Asked Jessie. She tried to sound casual. Some are, some aren't, said Megan. She sat down on the stairs and opened a bottle of sky blue nail polish. With quick, expert strokes, she started painting her toenails. Hey, that's right. You're going to be in our class this year. That's so weird, jumping a grade. A lot of people skip a grade, said Jessie. Really? I never met one before. Here, do your toes green, and then we'll be coordinated. Jessie ended up getting more polish on her toes and on her toenails. By the time they were done, Jessie had explained her plan for the day. Value added. See, she said, pulling 10 bright ideas to light up your sails from the back pocket of her shorts. She turned to bright idea number 2 and pointed with her finger. Value added. Something extra, such as a special feature or attractive packaging added by a company to a product that makes the product more desirable in the marketplace. That means we give customers something extra they didn't expect, explained Jessie. I mean, anyone can go home and mix up their own batch of lemonade, right? So, if we want them to buy from us, we've got to give them something extra. We add value. Great, said Megan. What are we going to add? Well, how about chips? And maybe pretzels. Everyone likes chips and pretzels. We'll have a bowl on the table, and anyone who buys lemonade can have some free snacks. So we're adding value. Snacks. Yeah, except Jessie had stayed up late last night reading her mom's booklet. You know what we're really adding? Fun. That's the one thing people can't get all by themselves. It looks like we're selling lemonade and snacks, but we're really selling fun, and everyone wants fun. Wow, said Megan. That's really smart. It'll be like a party. Who doesn't like a party? Jessie nodded her head. She carefully tore out the definition of value added from the booklet and put it in her lockbox. Her mother always said, some ideas are like money in the bank. An hour later, they were all set up. The lemonade stand was newly decorated with streamers and balloons. 3 bowls of snacks. There were some Cheetos, some potato chips, and pretzels were all set on top. Jessie had lugged Megan's boom box all the way downstairs, and Megan was doing the DJ thing with her CD collection. It looked like a party had somehow sprung up right in the middle of the hot concrete sidewalk. To anyone passing by, the lemonade stand shouted, "Come over here! This is where the fun is!" As soon as the music had come on, customers had started drifting over. One of the moms across the street set up a sprinkler in her front yard, and soon all the kids in the neighborhood were running through the sprinkler, grabbing handfuls of Cheetos. 2 women walking their dogs stopped for a nibble and ended up staying an hour. And 3 or 4 of the neighborhood mothers set up lawn chairs nearby and talked and ate pretzels while their kids ran through the water. But Jessie noticed a funny thing. Even though there was an endless buzz of activity around the stand and the chips were flying out of the bowls faster than Megan could restock them, they weren't selling much lemonade. "Hey, Jordan," said Jessie, as a 4-year-old boy ran by in a bathing suit. "Don't you want a cup of lemonade?" Jordan dive-bombed the pretzel bowl and came up with a fistful. "I had too much already. 4 glasses." And off he ran. "4 glasses," said Jessie to Megan. "He didn't buy any. Mrs. Doran, don't you want a cup of lemonade?" "Sorry, Jessie." "I have to pass," said Mrs. Doran. "I had 2 already, and I'm trying to cut down on sugary drinks." "Where is everybody drinking so much lemonade?" wondered Jessie. She looked down the road. "Oh, wait a minute." "Megan, hold down the fort," said Jessie. "I'll be right back." "Sure thing," said Megan, dancing to the music. This lemonade stand was the greatest idea. It's like a birthday for the whole neighborhood. Jessie headed down the road. As she rounded the bend, she prepared for the worst. Evan's lemonade stand crowded with customers. But there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. The corner was deserted. She crossed the street and went into the garage. There was the cooler, dirty and empty. And there was the stacked plastic chairs, 4 of them this time. And there was, wait a minute, those were new signs. Jessie pulled out 3 large pieces of foam core. On the back of each one was part of the penguin project Evan had done last year in 3rd grade. On the front were big letters. Slow down. Cheapest lemonade in town. Ahead. Yesterday's prices. Today's lemonade. You won't believe your eyes. Icy cold lemonade. Just 10 cents a cup. Jessie couldn't believe her eyes. 10 cents a cup? That was crazy. Even if they sold all 96 cups, they'll only make $9.60. And split 4 ways, that was just $2.40 for each boy. Evan was never going to earn $100 with that kind of profit. Jessie went down into the basement. Evan and Paul were playing air hockey. The puck flew into Evan's goal, and Paul threw his arms into the air in a victory V. "Oh, snap!" said Evan. "You're winning." "Winning? Winning? Are you kidding me?" said Paul. Then he dropped his voice to a gravely growl and said, "I don't play to win. I play to pulverize." Just like that muscle guy actor in Agent Down, the movie all the boys were talking about. Paul was even flexing his muscles like that actor, except that Paul didn't have any muscles, at least none that Jessie could see. When Paul saw Jessie, he dropped his arms. "Hey," he said. Paul was Jessie's favorite of Evan's friends. He always joked around with her, but in a nice way, and he never minded when Evan invited her to come along with them. "Hey," said Jessie, "what's up?" Evan turned off the air hockey table. "Nothing," he said. "We were just going out." Paul dropped his hockey paddle onto the table and followed Evan into the garage. Jessie trailed behind. "Where are you going?" she asked. "Down to the tracks," said Paul as he strapped on his bike helmet. "We put pennies there this morning, so we're going to get 'em now. Squash. You wanna?" "Yo!" said Evan. "Might be," muttered Paul. "So, see ya," he said to Jessie. Jessie hated this feeling of being shut out, like she wasn't wanted. Evan had never made her feel that way before. Even when sometimes he did want to just be with his friends, he'd always say things like, "Jess, we're going to go shoot hoops, just the 2 of us. But when we get back, we'll play spud with you." So that she knew he still liked her, even when she wasn't invited along. But this was like he hated her, like he never wanted to play with her again. And Paul was going right along with it. Jessie scowled. "So you really cleaned up today at the lemonade stand, huh?" she said. "Yep, we sold out," said Evan. "So what did you make, like $3?" she asked. "Actually, we made a ton. What was it, Paul?" $45, said Paul. Jessie's mouth went slack. $45? There's no way, she said. Not at 10 cents a cup. "Oh, just the little kids paid that," said Evan. "The grown-ups all gave us more. That's too cheap," they said. "It's such a hot day and you're working so hard. Here, take $1. Keep the change." It was crazy. "Unreal," said Paul. "They kept pushing all this money at us because they thought it was so sweet we were selling lemonade for a dime. We made a killing." Bright idea number 5. Jessie remembered it immediately. "That's called goodwill," she said slowly, picturing the exact page from her mother's booklet with the definition on it. Goodwill, an intangible but recognized asset that results from making or selling good products, having good relationships with your customer and suppliers, and being well regarded in the community. It's when you do something nice in business and it ends up paying you back with money. She sighed. Why hadn't she thought of that? She would be sure to tear out that definition and put it in her lockbox when she got back to the lemonade stand. Well, whatever. We cleaned up, said Evan. Even so, said Jessie, trying to find some way to prove that Evan had not had a good day selling lemonade. You had 4 people working the stand, so if you split the $45 4 ways, that's only $11.25 each, which is still way more than I'm going to make today, she thought, since the whole neighborhood has already filled up on cheap lemonade. We're not splitting, said Evan. The guy said I could keep it all. Right, said Paul. All for a good cause. That's not fair, said Jessie. Sure it is, said Evan as he got on his bike and pushed off. In case you didn't know, that's what it's like to have friends. Evan crossed the street. Ouch, said Paul. TTFN, Jess. He followed Evan. Jessie was she was left standing alone in the driveway. That was chapters 4 through 6 being read of The Lemonade War. Stay tuned for the next reading of the next 3 chapters. Thank you.